So this is episode 5 of our Rep Cold podcast. Today is a really special day. We're going to talk about things that we've never talked about before, and that is mindset and how important it is to us. And we're really going to strive on the day that changed our lives and our mindset. I'm going to introduce my best friend here, Josh Valdez.
What's going on?
So let's talk about that life-changing day that we both had on obviously separate occasions, but it was a little bit similar, and we talked a little bit about it beforehand. But let's talk about that, man. What was that life-changing day for you? How did it happen? Where did it happen? Why? Tell me about it.
Cool. All right. So back in high school, during the summers, I would spend my time in Los Angeles, where I'm originally from. I have family over there, so I would spend my summers over in LA. And during those times, I got to experience a lot of culture, I guess you can say, because I was interested in clothing. I was interested in music. So that scene is a lot more, vibrant out there, obviously, than it is over here in Arizona. I got to experience a lot of different things, going to different events, pop-up shops and clothing stores, because that's what I was into. So every summer I would go out there and, kind of see something new every time. And by the time I got to my senior year, I started asking myself some questions, about what it was wanted to do after high school. Did I want to go to college? Did I want to work? What did I want my career to be like? And so I started picking a few people's brains about it. And, a lot of what I got was, well, choose something that, you're going to like. Choose something that you are interested in. So work doesn't really feel like work at the end of the day, because who wants, to be miserable at work for, however long your career lasts. So, I took that into consideration, and I started asking myself, well, what is it that I'm really interested in? And, obviously it was clothes, it was fashion, it was, that culture, that environment. So I said to myself, well, in Arizona, what do we have that satisfies that need for me? And, there's a few things that I can think of, for example, like High Point and King and Duck. Those were kind of the two biggest things that I could relate to what I was thinking about. And so I said to myself, I separated the two. I was like, well, as far as business, what can I do to make money? Is there something that I could do to make money? And is there something that I could do that will satisfy my personal need and my personal interest in clothing and fashion? So I said to myself, well, in Arizona, we don't have that many clothing stores. And in Arizona, we don't have this, and, we're kind of missing this. And I got all of that from the time that I was in LA, and, it just started sparking more and more ideas. And it just got me really excited. We talk about those moments where we have conversations and we get really inspired and motivated. And that was kind of the first time that happened to me. So it was really exciting. I'd never felt the feeling before. So I started thinking about more ideas, and more things started popping in my head. And at that moment, I just felt so limitless. I felt like nothing was impossible. I felt like my mind was just opened up. People talk about that, some experiences where their mind is just open and they feel like they see things different. That's what happened to me that day. It was right before I started senior year. It was a lot of things going on around that time in my life, and to have that experience happen where it was like a light bulb moment, it was pretty exciting. You know what I mean? I'd never felt that type of feeling before, and like I said, I really felt limitless. I felt like nothing could stop me, and I continued, for a little while to see if there was anything that I could do to move forward in that. And throughout my senior year, I had ups and downs, so I didn't really focus on anything until probably after high school, and I caught back up to that certain type of mindset that from that first moment, where I started thinking about what I wanted to do. So, I've carried that on a little bit more. I feel like every time we get together and every day that goes by, I get a little bit more inspired to do bigger things and to make things realistic. So that time, before senior year happened was a real special time, because I got, I felt like my mind was just opened, and my perception of the world would definitely change. That's kind of how, I started getting into all this, and not only business and entrepreneurship, but a little bit more about of the creative side, where I just want to express myself. So that's how that happened.
Right. No, that's really, really cool, man. And it's funny because, we've known each other for a long, long time. And when we first talked about this, we talked about both of us having a life-changing moment like the one you just shared, but we hadn't really shared what that moment was. So it's really cool to listen to that. We talked a little bit beforehand, before recording this, but that's really cool. There's a lot of things I didn't know, and there's a lot of similarities to the day that changed my life. So that's pretty interesting. So yeah, let me tell you about my experience. Like I said.
Okay, for sure. Yeah, man, I'd definitely like to hear that.
Yeah, like I said, it's similar in some ways and then different in other ways. So I'm going to take it back pretty far. So I was about 15, heading into 16 years old, and I hit what I would call the rock bottom of my life up until that point, and even up until this point, that's still been the rock bottom of my life. And there's a lot of things going on in my life. The biggest thing that I recall going on was that my parents were going through a divorce. And that hit me really hard, not necessarily because they were getting a divorce, but because there was a lot of hate between them. There is just, I don't really understand it to this day why, and I don't really want to understand it, but that hate between them caused me to hit the lowest point in my life. But I've always said this to my dad and my mom, that if it wasn't because of that, I wouldn't be the person I am today. And what I mean by that is that because I was in that lowest point in my life, I mean low by terms that, like, I couldn't even wake up to go to school. I had no, like, the second half of my sophomore year of high school, like, I would go, one day and then, like, not go the rest of the week, or I wouldn't go for days, and just not because I was dumb or anything. Like, honestly, I think you know that I had nothing but honors classes the whole time. I had 3.8 GPA, so I wasn't a dumb kid. Like I said, I had a 3.8. I was really close to a 4.0 or 3.9, and it wasn't because, it's not that I wasn't going to school because I just didn't care about school. It was a lot of things going on in my life that really got me to what I would say is depression and just rock bottom pretty much. Now, the day that was similar to what yours is that my uncle had gave me an iPad, I think for like Christmas or my birthday or something like that. And every night on the iPad, I'd search things. And then one day was the day that I was like, well, you know what? I'm in this really low point in my life. And like every 15, 16-year-old thinks, they think they need to start working and making a little bit of money so they can be independent from their parents or their family or whatever. I was like, well, if I start working, I'm going to get paid the minimum. If I work so many hours, I'm going to make this much and stuff like that. And then it just led into well, what if I start my own business? And at the time, I was really into fashion as well, just like you. I've kind of strayed away from it anymore. It's not as important in my life as it was at that point. But the scenario in which it happened was very similar to yours, because I started thinking, well, you know what, if I start my clothing line and I do this, and then I can't, and then it led to bigger thoughts, just like you said, like building a community, building a mall, building different venues, and just different things that aren't here in Arizona, and we need to, experience, because, in the bigger cities like LA and New York, San Francisco, you have these big communities and this big culture, this really cool culture that we don't really have here. And what's really cool, today we're starting to get that a little bit more, and I think that's really cool. Then another thing that was really life-changing around that same day or around that same week was that I started learning about I started getting more into the tech world and tech industries and what's going on in Silicon Valley and San Francisco, and that's what really, really inspired me. It showed me what was possible with the world. Age didn't matter. One of the life-changing stories was where this kid, he was 16 years old, just like me. I was about to turn 16, and he had started his own business. He was already making over $100,000 a month, and he told his dad that he wanted to drop out, and he was an Indian kid. So in Indian families, that's not really acceptable to leave high school or even leave college. I mean, you're supposed to be a doctor, you're supposed to be a lawyer, you're supposed to have some kind of profession. But when his parents saw that he was making, a lot of money and they're living in a little 2-bedroom apartment for like six family members, they're like, well, you know what, you're probably onto something. And he went with him to drop out of school and, help him with his business. And then he ended up selling his business for around like $60 million by the time he was 18. And then he started another company, which he sold for $300 million. So it really gave me hope. It gave me inspiration that I could do absolutely anything with my life. And of course, I wanted to do the same thing he did, except I didn't, I hadn't already started a business that was already generating $100,000 a month, but I wanted to drop out of high school anyway. So I did. I don't know how, but I convinced my parents to let me drop out of high school. Now, the only way they're going to let me do this if I went to college right after. And the only way that that's possible is if I got my GED and then went into college. And I did absolutely that. I was 16 years old. I got my GED, and that very next semester I went to college at a community college that was nearby. That was the only way my parents were going to let me do it, and I don't regret it because it's changed my life to get me around, to change my mindset around exactly what I'm going to do. I wasn't just a dropout that didn't know what to do with this life, and he was just going to go live on the streets and just get drunk every day. Like, I actually had purpose in my life, and I still do. And like I said, I don't regret that decision that I made. It's been one of the most life-changing decisions. I got away from the crowd of going a certain way and just not really caring about your future or what your purpose is in life. And I went to really caring and taking it so serious that I didn't want to surround myself around the people who didn't have purpose. So that led to that. And then from then, it's just kind of evolved over the years to different businesses that have both failed, a little bit of success, and but nothing huge yet. But I haven't said that I failed, and that's because I can't really say that I've given my all in any of my projects. So even though they've made a little bit of money, I haven't given my absolutely all. And that's why we're doing this, to kind of keep us accountable to really make sure that we, follow through with everything and stay focused, man. But that was kind of like what my life-changing moment was. And I don't regret it, man. If it wasn't for the rock bottom place that I hit in my life, I wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't be the person I am today.
For sure, man. And I do recall that time in your life where you were definitely going through a lot of things. And when we got to link back up, we always tell the story, but we got to link back up. There's a certain moment where we kind of shared briefly, what our thoughts were like, and we started having more dialogue about business, about the future, about ideas. So it's definitely cool to hear that story a little bit more in full.
Yeah, and then we talked about in the first podcast about the first time that that you approached me about you having these thoughts and that mindset. And I want to say it was probably, now that you're giving me kind of like dates and stuff, but it was probably right before you went into senior year that you told me that. And then, with school and stuff, then it kind of dried off a bit, but then it lit back up after that. But yeah, man, like I said last time, I remember the day you came to my house. We talked, bro, for hours about what our thoughts were, what our mindset was, what our dreams were. And that was just a beautiful thing, man. And prior to that, probably like 1 or 2 weeks before that, I remember the exact day, man, we were at a friend's house with, probably like 4 or 5 of our other friends. And you were telling all of us about that moment in your life that you really had purpose. You really knew what you wanted to do with your life. I didn't really say much at that point because I didn't want to, make you feel uncomfortable or anything, but I always knew that you would have that moment, and I was really glad that you had it sooner rather than later so that I wouldn't be alone. You know what I mean? So yeah. I thought that was really, really cool, man, and I really enjoyed that you reached out to me personally like a week after that to, just us two, and we talked about it at my house, man, and that was really, really cool to have someone who has the same mindset or a similar mindset and wants to do something with their life that have purpose and they have drive and they have dreams, that they're not just, they don't let others dictate their life. And I think that's incredible. That's how I live my life. And I think that's really, really neat, man. We're always really good friends, but I think that moment definitely strengthened our friendship a lot, like more than anything, any other experience that we've had.
Yeah, exactly. We have our certain group of friends, but, everybody, you have a different relationship with everybody. And with you, it became closer since that moment. And, you're my right-hand man, basically. We get to talk about a lot of the similar, ideas that we have. And I definitely go to you a lot for your opinion on things that I think about, So I definitely respect your opinions, and I'm sure it goes the same both ways.
Most definitely. It definitely does. Let's talk a little bit more on the specifics of mindset. We talked a little bit beforehand about, we talked about like self-doubt, acceptance, and, what others will say. Give me your look on that. What does mindset mean to you? What advice do you have for other people, which is the most important thing? What have you learned? Yeah,
well, in the beginning, when, taking it back again to that first moment where I started having these thoughts, I didn't know whether to tell people or not to tell people. I was a little bit nervous about what people would say. Obviously, I told the closest people around me, and it was kind of shocking to them the way I was speaking. It caught a lot of people off guard. They were like, I was a little bit crazy, like, well, I'm with you because you're my friend, but, it does sound a little bit crazy. So once I started getting people telling me that it was a little bit crazy, I started telling people a lot less of what I was thinking about because, every day my mind was changing. There was a lot of ideas in my head. I was nervous in the beginning, and I was scared of what other people thought of what I wanted to do, and as, sometimes that may not coincide with the way people look at me, because I feel like people probably think that, I don't think about what I'm going to say next, but the truth is that I really do. I really do think about the things that I say, and, I care about what sometimes maybe a little bit too much about what people think about me, so I was scared to tell a lot of people at first. And it changed over the years. I told people in brief what it was that I wanted to do and, the ideas that I had in my head. So after a while, I kind of just brushed off the people that weren't with it. I said, cool, like maybe you don't get it now. Maybe you'll get it later. Maybe you won't get it. But I'm just going to keep doing what I do, So I kind of started gaining more confidence. And that definitely helped my mindset out. It was like, it's not going to, what I tell people, they may not understand it now, they may not understand it never. But I know I'm confident in the words that I speak. That's how I started thinking about myself, and then other people started catching that. They're like, the way I was talking to them, I could see it in people's eyes. They were surprised. They would, some people were even inspired. I got that from some people. They told me that, I inspired them to want to do something different. So what the biggest thing that I would probably have to say to people is not to be afraid. In the beginning, it might be a little bit scary when you first think about things that you want to do and things that you want to achieve, but to not be scared, to just let it out into the world. I learned that if you just hold in a bunch of ideas, that's all it's going to ever be is just ideas. You're never going to be able to make it a reality if you don't, take steps to do so. If you don't have, if you have an idea to put it on paper, when you put it on paper, you get one step closer to making it real life. So, that's kind of a little bit what I want people to know is, to not be scared of their own thoughts, and become a little bit more confident in themselves. That doesn't necessarily mean that they have to tell the whole world what it is exactly they're doing, but, telling a few people what it is that you have in mind, getting feedback and things like that,
No, I get what you're saying, man. And
Yeah,
I mean, I couldn't have said that any better. That's really impactful. That's incredible. I I commend you, man, for opening up about it, because not, we all go through those, through the self-doubt, not believing in yourself, wanting to be accepted by others, being worried about what others have to say, what they're going to think, and all of that, just like you said, man, it could lead to you doing nothing. So you got to get past that fear, just like you said. And my mentor Josh, who said it in our last interview, last podcast, he said to have the mentality of abundance and not scarcity. When he means like that, it's like don't be scared to share your ideas with the world. Now, granted, not everybody's going to understand them, but a lot of these new entrepreneurs, they have all these ideas and all these things they want to do, but they don't want to tell you because they don't want you to steal the idea, or they don't want to be judged, or, whatever. So when you move your mentality from scarcity to abundance, it will make a big difference in your life. So that's really, really cool. And I do believe that once you get past that fear, it's really going to grow your confidence in yourself and who you are as a person. You're not going to be afraid to share your ideas with people, but then you're not going to let them affect you. You're going to be able to take criticism and grow from that. So I think that's really, really impactful, and I'm really happy that you're able to open up about that. That's awesome.
Yeah, and then a line that just always pops in my head when this topic is brought up is J. Cole has a line in a song where he goes, if they don't know your dreams, then they can't shut them down. So a lot of people keep things inside until, they're just working. A lot of people just work and work and work until they become successful without telling other people. And, they're obviously that's a good thing, if you're able to just keep your head low and not tell people about too much about what you're working on, and then you just end up becoming successful. That's great. But at the same time, I also do believe it's important for you to put it out. It's important for you to have people say, oh, you're a little bit crazy. I don't think you know what you're talking about. I feel like that is just as motivating for you to want to succeed.
Absolutely. I agree with both sides. There's a little bit of good in both just putting your head down and hustling and working hard and sharing those ideas with the world. So I get what you're saying with that, man. I definitely do.
And you did touch a little bit. I was going to bring up, there's a lot of self-doubt in the beginning for myself. There was I don't know if this is going to work out. I don't know if this idea is too big. I don't know how I'm going to get the money to do this, or how I'm going to have people get on board, with my idea. So that just goes back to being a little bit, taking a chance, being courageous, and just letting it out. Because if you just hold everything in, you're never gonna make anything a reality. So that's definitely some things that I've learned along the way.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, and I mean, some of the biggest things that I just try to drive myself and everybody around me, or anybody that wants advice, is letting them know it's all right to have dreams and goals, but the distance between your dreams and reality is the action you take. You know what I mean? Success doesn't happen to you; it happens because of you. You're the only one who's going to limit yourself. Everything's in you, in your head, and it's in you to take that action. It's up to you. Nobody's going to make that decision for you. It's really, it's having that grit and that determination, man, to make things happen. Because if you don't really want it, you just kind of want it, you're not going to make anything happen. What's that motivational speaker? What's his name? The one that has that really famous speech where he's talking to the classroom. He's telling them about wanting to succeed as bad as you want to breathe. What's his name?
Yeah,
Eric.
I can't remember the name off the top of my head.
I think it's Eric Thomas. I think it's Eric Thomas. I might be wrong. I'm not sure. But yeah, man. I mean, he talks about how he goes to the ocean with this guru, and he makes him go into the beach and going to the deepest part where he can't breathe anymore, and he's putting his head down and he's fighting for his life. He's fighting to breathe. He can't breathe. And he tells him, as soon as you take success, or your success, with that determination, as soon as you want it as bad as you want to breathe and as long as you want to live, is when you're actually going to be successful. And that's absolutely true, because if you are the person that's going to give up with any little thing, if you get distracted or whatever, and you don't really want it, because I'm gonna tell you, bro, there's people out there who are fucking working nonstop, 24/7. They fucking want it bad. They want it bad, and those are the people that are going to make it. And I'm gonna be honest, you know, I can look at myself, and I know that I'm not as good as I can be. I mean, I know that I'm not in there 24/7 making shit happen. I know, but it drives me to keep striving towards that. And it's really just a decision. It's a decision and focus, and not letting others distract you, and then not letting other people let you down or bring you down. I don't know if I told you this, but I tell everybody that like asks me for help, or anybody that you know that wants advice, and I tell them that I only take advice from those who are where I want to be, or those who have overcame an obstacle that I'm currently facing. Those are the only people I take advice from. And it sucks, because a lot of times that means that we're going to have to ignore and go against about what the closest people in our life are telling us to do or advising us to do. You know, a lot of times there are parents, our family, our closest friends, and they don't do it with bad intention. You know what I mean? They don't have the bad intention to wish you harm or bad, but they just don't know any better. They're giving you advice, and they think it's the best advice they can give you, but they don't know any better. Like I was talking to one of my cousins not too long ago, and I was telling her the same thing. You know, only take advice from those who are where you want to be in life. You know, and don't take advice from your uncle who, you know, is unemployed, he's broke, and he really doesn't even know where he lives. You know, sometimes he spends the night here, sometimes he spends the night there. I mean, he has no real, life. He's a cool guy. Like I said, it doesn't mean they're bad people. But you can be taking advice from those people, because you're going to end up just like them.
I agree with that. I definitely agree. I mean, it's a sensitive topic, because like you said, you definitely don't want to hurt ever the people around you. But at the same time, they're unfamiliar with the level at which you want to be at, you know.
Exactly.
They don't know anybody around them that's ever reached the type of level that, you know, we strive for. And obviously it's never any disrespect. I always like to hear people out, you know. There's certain things that you could take from people, you know, like your parents, or you know, or your family members or friends. Some people have lived different experiences than you have. And, you know, sometimes you can definitely take out some things that apply to your life. But for the most part, you know, surrounding yourself with people who are smarter than you, who are stronger than you, who are more successful than you, will only lead you to having those type of characteristics. So I definitely hear what you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, and it's tough. Like you said, it is a sensitive topic, because you don't want to tell anybody to not listen to their biggest mentor in their life, which is their dad or their mom. You know what I mean? It's very sensitive. But I'm not telling you guys to be an asshole about it. Like, don't be like, oh, no, don't talk to me. Shut the hell up. You know, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm not going to listen to you. You're broke. You don't know what you're talking about, right? You don't got to be a fucking asshole about it. Just listen. Take the stuff that applies to you. Leave the stuff that doesn't. But be smart enough to be able to make that decision. Know what applies. You know, what experience do they really have? Are they where you want to be in life? If they're not, then, you know, it's okay to not take their advice. Now, you don't got to tell them, I'm not going to take your advice, but just, you know, you make that decision for yourself. It is a sensitive topic, man, but it's a very important one.
I hear that. And like I said, I do agree with you. In the terms that you speak of.
Yeah, and it's not just your family, it's not just your parents, you know, it's the people around you, your friends. If you're in high school or college, it's the people that you surround yourself with, you know, so-called friends or acquaintances, whatever you want to call them. But just when you're able to open your mind and just, like I said, you don't have to be an asshole about it, but just realize that if you're headed where that crowd is headed, you're not going to go much farther or any further than that crowd. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You only get as far as the people that you surround yourself around, and that's because your mentality knows what's possible. When you're around average, all your brain knows is average. But when you're around success and greatness, your mentality and your brain knows that success and greatness is possible.
Most definitely,
what I mean?
man. Most definitely. And that's another thing that I think I've focused on a little bit more this year is definitely surrounding myself with people who I, are at higher levels of success than me. Meeting people in the industry that I want to work in, that have high level jobs or that, do things that I want to do. I definitely try to surround myself a little bit more with those type of people. At first, it is a little bit scary to go up and speak to people that maybe, have that success. It's a great feeling when, you get to talk to them and you get to learn new things that you didn't know before.
Absolutely, man. I completely agree. And just like you, I've made that decision myself also to surround myself around those people that are where I want to be in life. And I always knew that, but I never took the action to do that until this year, 2016. And, like I said last time, we talked a little bit about this the other day. And, like for myself, if I want to be a millionaire, I'm going to surround myself around millionaires. Now, just like I said, man, it's frightening. It's scary. It's kind of embarrassing because you're not a millionaire and they are, and you feel like you don't have anything to bring to the table. But just being in that, in that surrounding, in that environment, it's so life-changing. It opens your mind. It grows your confidence even more. Like, I'm already a confident person, but it makes me feel even more confident, like nothing's stopping me. If they can do it, I can do it. It's just pretty incredible, man. And something that I've learned is that around all the successful people, whether it's financially successful or physically successful, however you want to put it, they all tend to do the same thing. And is that no matter how they feel, they get up, they get dressed, and they show up. They never give up every single day. That's what's really just stuck to me and inspired me, and just really, I've been trying to drill it in my head. I'm going to probably hang a poster that says that somewhere, that I see it every single morning, so that I remember that I just have to do it no matter how I feel, whether I feel like it or not. Get up, dress up, show up, and never give up, man.
Yeah, man. And the biggest thing that I hope gets taken out of this is, having a good mindset, having a strong mindset about what it is that you want to do, where it is that you want to go, is definitely going to help in the success of whatever it is that you're working on.
Absolutely, man. And I want to touch on really quick that about hitting bad moments in your life and kind of hitting rock bottom. And what I've learned is that when something bad happens in your life, there's three choices. You can either let it define you, you can let it destroy you, or you can let it strengthen you. You know what I mean? Rock bottom has built a lot more champions than a privileged household has. You know what I mean? It's those people that really have to work through struggles and really overcome obstacles, and those are the people who are successful. And that's because they know the struggle, so that if they ever hit they know the real struggle, so when they hit obstacles like a down in business or just anything like that, they're able to get back up and just push forward.
For sure.
Cool, man. Is there anything you want to really end the note on? Anything that you want to say before we get off?
I think that somebody who definitely has a good mindset, somebody who's doing it right, is shout out to DJ Khaled. A lot of people might see this guy as a joke, and some of the stuff that he definitely says is a little bit corny, but you have to give it to the man. he's definitely making a lot of money this year. He's definitely, you know, everywhere that you look, he's there. He's coined references, you know, that are used on a day-to-day basis. And I definitely think it's just because of that guy's mindset. I think he's definitely doing it right.
Absolutely.
It's you know, that's just an example of, you know, how far your mindset can take you.
Yeah, man, the dude's a fucking producer. Like I said, a lot of people might not take it serious, but he's grown a huge following just in this past year. I mean, the dude's been around for a long time, and he's never been as relevant as he is now.
For sure.
You know what I mean? All right, man. So I know we're trying to try to have these kind of short, or at least shorter than the other ones. I think we still went over that 30-minute mark that we wanted to hit, but I'll go ahead and end it really quick. I want to end it with one last thought, and that's to believe in yourself, get outside your comfort zone, don't procrastinate, you know, get over yourself, get over your bad habits, man. Stop feeling bad for yourself. Keep learning, trust your gut, and ask for help, man. You know, anything can be done, but don't be afraid.
Yeah, man. And then lastly, surround yourself with good people, man. Surround yourself with people who are like-minded and, you know, have a mindset of wanting to succeed, you know, and regardless of whatever field it is, you know.
Absolutely, man. Those are great marks. It was great talking to you again. And see you next time, bro.
All right, sounds good, man. Good hearing from you.